I do not see any performance of action that could give rise to immortal fruit of everlasting bliss. Important to understand. All things you gain in the world are led by your karma. But your karma does not have the capacity to give you everlasting bliss. Whatever karma gives you is always transient, something in the realm of time and space. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanam Murtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadi Lakshyam Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration through Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, in Upasham Prakarana, section number is 22, and the context here is story of King Bali, not Bali, Bali. And as you recall, King Bali is a great king, not only ordinary king according to the story. He is the ruler of the three worlds. And has ruled for a long time. So much so that his rulership has become a boredom for him. So he went up to the highest story of his palace, the uppermost story. In old stories, always there is a story in it. And he began to overview his whole life and all his power and glory. And I have explained to you that's what every aspirant has to do. When you practice sadhana, your mind becomes relaxed. Now you have taken a mystic ladder and you are on a higher step. You can look back, look forward, and try to view and understand whether you are serving the purpose of your life or your life is just being led by monkey business. You have two business, monkey business, Hanuman business. So at this stage, Bali has become very reflective, and he's practicing vichar, a thoughtful movement in his mind. And this gives you an illustration, an example of how your thinking should also progress. These sense enjoyments are delightful only when the mind is overpowered by ignorance and lacks thoughtfulness. Is a mature vision. Happiness doesn't come from objects. If it were so, all will be happy because there are lots of objects. So no matter how wonderful setup of things have come to you, things you dreamt of having and now you have it, happiness is not secured. Happiness is secured. You will hop from one thing to another, but not happiness. So should you just go on jumping like that? While you are jumping for happiness, something else is happening in your body, mind. In other words, you are aging. And this soul is preparing to kick the bucket. So, happiness is not in the objects of the world. Is the happiness in your near and dear relatives? I will not detail upon it. That again is not so. But still enjoying happiness and relaxed feeling is possible. Simple rule. Stay ignorant. Don't listen to any satsanga. Find association of people who are extremely dull-witted. And then the world will be always interesting for you. Again and again, one must wake up to a new day which is similar to yesterday. Think of the predicament. Figure out why is it that the world cannot give you fulfillment. And see how things have happened from your childhood, from the day you can remember your experience. Every day you have opened your eyes bright. Oh God, let me make this day. Every day you looked forward to happiness. And the next day is always a new day. But then your experience stays similar to yesterday. Nothing new you gain. Again and again there is similar night. Again and again Bali is talking to himself. Again and again I must take baths, eat food, sleep, indulge in the pleasures of the senses, and continue living a life of boring repetitions. Indeed, it is shameful for the wise to indulge in the delights of the senses, which are like worthless toys in the hands of children. Again and again, the ignorant embrace their beloved ones, the same enjoyments of the senses, the same rotation of daily duties. Just as waves rise and fall in endless succession, so too people continue to engage themselves in similar actions and enjoyments for no apparent purpose. It is shameful to indulge in the same enjoyments again and again, in spite of growing distaste for them. What action one must perform so that there would remain nothing to be performed? Now this the profound point is brought before your mind. Is it possible? What should happen that would fulfill the purpose of your existence perfectly? What should happen? What should you know, knowing which all is known? What should you accomplish, accomplishing which no other accomplishment is needed? Is there such a thing? What should a person do in order to be rid of the repetitive processes of the world? First, to understand there is always repetition goes on, and it goes on from life to life. It's not a matter of belief. You cannot just come from zero. So before you were born in this existence, in this body, you did exist. And you have gone through countless embodiments. Should you continue like that? And in the state of dull-witted state of mind, one tends to live a life of mechanical repetition. Same things again and again. Same tea, same coffee, same food, same delicacies, same crunchies. Same temper, same egoism, same swollen head, same despair, same sorrow, same waiting with stress, same excitement. Same turning of the hairs grey. Same shrinking of this skin. Same aging. And so forth. Is there something attaining which all this boring repetition stops? First, to understand this repetition is boring. It is not something that you just stay on. You can do so. If you make animals your guru, in other words, if you live the instinctive plane, you don't allow reasoning to develop in your mind. I do not see any performance of action that could give rise to the immortal fruit of everlasting bliss. Allow your mind to work. Is there any project, if you could accomplish it, and thereby you can have immortal fruit of everlasting bliss? It's not possible. What is that bliss which is totally different from the illusory pleasures of the senses? the bliss that is eternal and everlasting. Of course, what we are leading you to understand that yes, that's the goal of your life. And that bliss is the truth, the reality, absolute truth. But you have to figure out how to realize that truth. First, to understand all that you discover or find in the realm of your senses is just like finding things in your iPad. Shifting your fingers and things move. Open file after file. But no matter whatever you may find, it is not your exact experience. It's something that is shifting, transient, gives excitement to your mind. Of course, if you learn lessons from it and be enriched, that's a different matter. All human experiences are vritti-based experience. Vritti-based mind goes on creating, just like your fingers are vrittis. Mind creates one little wave and it opens up lots of view. It can contain millions of things. And the vrittis go on changing. And it has such a big scope that for one who is not thoughtful, there is no end to the entertainment that the world can give to you. But if you are a little wiser, with each entertainment comes some form of terror, fear, and lots of tension. I do not see any performance of action that could give rise to immortal fruit of everlasting bliss. Important to understand, all things you gain in the world are led by your karma. But your karma does not have the capacity to give you everlasting bliss. Whatever karma gives you is always transient, something in the realm of time and space. So karma-based attainment is not fulfillment, it's always illusory, like mirage. Karma-based attainment is also described in more philosophical terms. It is a process of becoming. Another word is kritrim. It is artificial. It is not real. Karma-based attainment is just like attainments in your dream. In your dream, you eat wonderful cream. But it has no reality behind. Karma-based movement makes you feel you are poor, now have become rich. You are rich, but now you have become popular, powerful. You are powerful, but now you have become more powerful. How powerful? You compare yourself with big people. And try to come to a state, no one was as good as me. That's the ego-based movement. So you are always trying to become. Realization is not becoming. Becomings don't become you. That's speaking Strange language. The essential nature, the real I am, is ever the same, absolute, and doesn't need to become. Reflected suns have to become different, get into different buckets of water, they must shine better than before, and so forth. The sun doesn't have to become anything. Sun is perfect. In the same way, the real I am in every individual is Brahman, the absolute. That I am has nothing to do with becomings of this world. All becomings relate to mind, mind-based experience. The reality is where mind itself dissolves. The light of the sun gets refracted through a cloud. Refractions can create great drama. No matter how wonderful the drama, they are all refractions. Nothing has happened to the sun. How will you know it? When the cloud dissolves. Mind is the cloud. And no amount of karma can lead you to enlightenment. But this doesn't mean that you don't do karma. But to do karma with the spirit of karma yoga, not for holding on to the fruit of karma. Fruit of karma is always in the realm of time and space. But if you are doing your karma as karma yoga, fruit is not important. What you are interested in, your movement, Godward movement. Performing action in such a way that it brings purity in your heart. Your feelings that are muddled with so many illusions, those feelings become pure. As the purity of feeling develops, it's just like a cloud that is becoming, losing its opacity. It is not dark. Once the darkness begins to move away, light starts flowing through it. And that type of experience now becomes your objective, not the fruits of karma that bring different things in this world. Possession, power, lot of business, and so forth. Instead, a deeper opening into your heart of the joy of having purity of heart, the joy of having compassion, friendliness, humility, and a mature understanding that these virtuous qualities, they are making you really prosperous. Thieves and others can't take them away. Even death cannot deprive you from that wealth. That internal fulfillment, that begins to become your objective. And then if you follow that, Bhakti develops, and Bhakti leads you to mukti, liberation. The ultimate climax of this movement is a revelation that the real you, the real I am, is not the individual soul that incarnates. Individual soul is like a reflected sun. The reality behind the reflection is the sun. Individual soul is a reflected Brahman in mental process. The reality behind each reflected soul is the absolute self, Brahman. So that Brahman is not attained by karmic movement. But karma has its place. If you turn karma into karma yoga. Thus, reflecting within his mind, King Bali entered into deep meditation. Then, as the clouds of distraction began to subside, he suddenly recollected the profound spiritual teachings that he had received from his father, King Virochana. In a storyline, he recalls the teachings he had received from his father, which is also perfectly in order. Sometimes you have received good teachings, but led by your carelessness and dullness of the mind, you kept the good teachings in the shelf, somewhere in the unconscious. But with the passage of time, certain obstacle has been removed. Now suddenly you begin to remember and take advantage of those teachings that you have kept in the shelf. Even literally, somebody has given you a good book, forgot all about it. But came into a state of trouble in your mind. Oh, let me learn about the art of positive thinking. And go to your shelf. Up till then, the book was being read by worms. Putting in a little more profounder way, Raja Yoga says, Shraddha, virya, smriti, samadhi, prajna. These are the stages of spiritual ascent. Shraddha is faith. Faith-based strength allows you to discover spiritual strength within your personality. Physical attainments require physical strength. But when you want to control your anger and hate, you want to collect the pearls of wisdom in the basket of your heart, ordinary muscle will not help. That requires a different type of strength. That's called virya. And that comes by your sadhana, by your following the path of sadachar, righteous conduct. And that strength called virya. Virochana is virya presented in a storyline. So Bali, as he goes into a spiritual process, his Shraddha-based movement comes to a state of virya, strength. And virya leads him to smriti, recollection. Recollection is two types. Things you have, profounder lessons you have learned, but they are all hidden from your view. Those lessons now come forward. Another recollection, that's profounder. In reality, you are not this body. You have forgotten that point. You are spirit, not matter. So don't stay involved with the world of matter. Matter doesn't matter. So, that is the spiritual recollection, that I am not the perishable body, I am eternal. And that recollection now leads you to move away from all worldly entanglements and let your mind relax, samadhi. And that samadhi allows the intellect to become intuitional, called prajna. And that prajna, if it becomes your firm experience, is sthita prajna, that's your goal. Sage Vasistha points out to the fact that good impressions that are acquired by the practice of satsanga or good association or by listening to the teachings of enlightened sages, those good impressions can never be ineffective. They never become void. They continue to abide in one's unconscious and are awakened when obstructive karmas begin to disperse. When awakened, they beckon a person towards the attainment of self-realization. In simple terms, whatever good things you learn, that's never wasted. As the breeze of recollection entered his mind, King Bali stretched his eyebrows and said to himself, "Lo, now I remember the teachings that I had received from my father, King Virochana. Seeing my father seated under a heavenly tree, enjoying profound relaxation, I had asked him," this is the storyline, how he once received teachings from his own father Virochana, and now he begins to remember those teachings. He had simply put them on the shelf, you see. Eaten by the worms of worries. I asked him, "O Father, what's the ultimate limit of this world, wherein pain and pleasure cease to exist? What is that abode wherein the illusions of the mind subside and all the desires are fulfilled? Is there a resting place wherein one is freed of all sorrows and miseries of life?" That has to be handled, grasped by your mind. Can this goal be real? Or should you just stay the way things are? And day by day you are reminded by nature. When you go to sleep, you move away from your mind, move away from your ego, and you are not in any way under shock. If someone were to say that a big storm is coming and so many houses will be just blown away, it's a big shocking situation. But in sleep, not just big houses. All that you have known from the time you were born, all that you think of your future, all the world that you have any idea about, all moves away. And all this is taken within you, joyous. It's so joyous, you wake up with a bright face. I had a wonderful sleep. I knew nothing. That gives you a profound message. That's the reality in every individual. Attain samadhi. And all this moves away. All this is handled by your mind working through the brain and nervous system. This entire world is a play of a little strange looking brain and nerves. Oh Father, please explain to me whether or not it is possible for a person to experience bliss, which brings about unending satisfaction in the heart. These enjoyments of the senses are illusory in nature. The happiness derived from them is fleeting, like flashes of lightning. And they are deceptive like mirage. What then is the nature of supreme bliss? I remember how my father replied to these questions by telling me the story of the king and his minister. So that talk has gone on when he was a kid type of personality. And father had told him through a parable. The king is Brahman, minister is the mind. King 𝘕𝐻𝘢𝘴 said, "O son, there is a mystic country known as moksha, or liberation, which is so vast that many world systems can be lost in it." Yoga Vasistha in another place gives you another picture, same thing. If you are in your room, certain story of a building, and sunlight comes to your room in the form of a beam of light through a little hole. In that beam of light, you see countless particles of dust scintillating. Consider each dust particle a world system, a cosmos. So many world systems are sustained by Brahman. So vast that many world systems can be lost in it. Even how they are lost, even like little pebbles in the vast ocean. And yet it is unique because there is neither rivers nor oceans. Now Brahman, how interesting Brahman is. Now the picture is, there are no rivers there. To attain enlightenment, you like to be enjoying rivers. You will be frustrated. There are no rivers, no oceans, neither mountains nor forests, neither earth nor the sky, neither fire nor wind. In fact, this strange country is destitute of gods, demons, humans, other living beings. It is the country of moksha, liberation. So we have to decide after hearing all that what is. Even time and space do not exist there. And more so, nor the great divinities such as Vishnu, Brahma, Shiva. There abides only its most effulgent king. So far, the story doesn't give thee who the king is, but I'm going to go on giving. The most effulgent king is Brahman, who is all-pervading, omnipotent, and the performer of all deeds. Not a single action takes place in the world without the presence of Brahman. The king willed to have a minister for himself. That minister is the mind. For creating the world drama, that also again is allegorical statement. And consequently a minister appeared. The minister then owes his existence to the king. And without the king, this all-powerful minister has no existence. So mind becomes now the creator of the entire world process. But all that power that mind has gotten is because of Brahman. And without Brahman, mind has nothing, no substance in it. It is only when the minister is conquered that one may enter in the country of moksha. If we want to go into that country, mind has to be conquered. However, that minister cannot be conquered by all the martial methods adopted by human beings. Your physical strength, your monetary strength, your martial strength, all that type of strength that cannot enable you to conquer your mind. If you don't conquer your mind, you cannot enter the country of moksha and discover you are Brahman. The king continues to abide in his own glory. So no matter whatever minister may do, king remains in his own glory. Whatever reflections may do, sun remains in its own glory. Prince Bali then asked, "O father, what is that country which is bereft of all the ills of this world? How can I find it? Who is that minister whom we have not yet conquered in spite of our victory over the three worlds?" King Virochana replied, "O son, if all the gods and demons were to unite, and even if there were a force a million times greater than the force of all the gods and demons put together, yet it would be ineffective against the powerful minister." Mind cannot be conquered by all the forces that you can imagine. All the atom bombs, all the technology, all the advancement of all beings, human beings, birds, animals, and beings that you are not aware of, including even the divinities, gods. All that force put together cannot destroy the mind, because the mind is based on ignorance, and you can't beat up ignorance. That minister is different from Indra, Kubera, and all other mighty gods over whom we demons have attained victory. Further, there is no weapon in the world that could be discharged against that almighty minister. Just as an invulnerable rock cannot be pierced by lotus blooms, in the same way that minister cannot be overpowered by the mightiest weapons of war. All muscle-based strength, might is right, all type of concepts of strength that do not give you liberation. Liberation comes when the mind has become calm, still. When thought waves of the mind have become entered into samadhi state, vritti nirodha, thought waves have been restrained. The might of the greatest of heroes becomes nullified in the presence of that mighty minister. Though that minister is not Vishnu, yet he is real. He is the real cause behind the destruction of the mightiest of demons. Just as the wind of destruction during the cosmic dissolution forces the planetary system to drift into confusion, like the leaves of a tree during a storm. In the same way that minister subjugates all the worlds and all the living beings that inhabit them. First point to understand this mind. All your experiences are based on your mind. Your experiences are in three lokas. The world of practical reality, the world of feelings, imagination, sentiments, and the world of your insight and understanding. And if you think of the whole world before you, the whole world before you is nothing but these points. Because the experience of the world is, you have to understand, not in its own self. You are not experiencing objects, inner objects. But you're experiencing objects through your mental process, in your nervous system. So no matter how big is the world, and no matter how voluminous the descriptions and history, and no matter how amazing the stars, all that is being drawn through your own mind and nervous system. In simpler terms, again, it's all this, the magic of the mind. So, in a moment, your mind can put a storm to all your three worlds. Or any specialized spot within the three worlds. Such is the power of this minister, mind. O Prince, if anyone attains victory, it is because of the subtle power of the minister that operates through him. Even all the victories that you attain in the world, worldly victory, even that mind is behind it. And at the same time, if one is defeated and one becomes helpless, that also is because of the power of the minister, the mind. No one can vanquish the minister except his creator, the king. So, the secret behind conquering the minister lies in Brahman. put it in a simpler way, if you develop love of God, that now puts you in a stage of conquering your mind in an effective way. With the passage of time, the king himself decides to recover his essential nature. If you develop devotion, then as if Brahman himself had become bored with this drama and he wants to withdraw the mind. So when he decides, it happens. O son, when that minister is conquered by realizing the king, then even those who are apparently defeated attain supreme victory. And yet if that minister is not conquered, one remains defeated in spite of all his apparent victories in the transient world. All your success and victory is meaningful if you are moving towards conquering the mind by pleasing Brahman, by allowing Brahman to do the job. And with this I'm going to conclude.
Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.